I didn't hit, okay, I'm recording now. Does everyone, do we want to move a little bit closer? Well, we're all here. I can't see you at all, Ms. I don't know why.
Can we just turn the camera a little bit?
I tried. It will not, it's for some strange reason it won't pick her up. Let's see.
Oh, going.
And it's fine. I think that's enough. Okay, can everyone online hear clearly?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, we hear you clearly too.
Are we ready?
We are ready.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Sarah Smith Go-To meeting where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Sarah Smith Go team to order at 3:18 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take the roll.
Present,
Mary Posada? Present.
present, online, she raised her hand.
Present. Ben Miller? Jennifer? Present. Jay?
Present.
Carla? Present. Magali?
Not present.
Nina?
Nina is not present.
Oh.
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Allison, is there a quorum present?
Yes, there's a quorum.
Thank you, Allison. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I would like to add the BAS 3 results. It is?
The spring math scores?
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Does
Thank
it
you.
matter that it says budget approval? Yes.
That's all right. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Jennifer. Second.
A second.
Please say aye or so the secretary can review. Please say. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. Thank you. Meeting agenda has been approved. We will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? If there are no further corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. A second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Right.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Thank you. Our previous minutes have been. Our first action item is. Let's go to discussion. We will now move to the discussion items. That is our 2023 spring map school.
Okay, so we have our 2023 mapped scores. and we're looking at our math growth achievement level predictions by grade. And so what they do is we look at the growth and the level of achievement of the students in varying grade levels. And this one is taking a look at just how our students are performing and would perform on the, well, no, this one is looking just at their achievement based on the MAP scores and their MAP growth. So we see this is the work that we really have to do next year, because we want to be in the dark green and the light green. Yellow is not preferred, and we definitely don't want anyone in the red. So when we look at our math scores for second grade, we have about 33% that are distinguished and proficient, and then the 44% is development, and then this 23% is where we need work. In second grade, the bulk of the work, or the one that has higher needs, if we're just looking at the red, is reading, but math is a concern at 23 and 29%, and this is the work that we'll do in the PLCs, heavily talking about the science of reading, using that transdisciplinary approach throughout the school to bring up like the reading scores through reading in science, reading in social studies, nonfiction text. And two good people to speak about it are Jennifer and Carla, because this is going to be an overall general conversation of the work that has to take place next year. Do you have anything you want to share?
I think that one of the biggest things, here in the middle. One of the biggest things is I think that we've really got to focus on and really building that foundation for students being able to decode. We also really need to focus on comprehension strategies. And we have children in the upper grades who can decode at a lot higher level than they can comprehend. And so we're spending a lot of time talking right now about what are things that we do to try to level that out. Like, how can we build in more in-depth comprehension skills earlier so that they progress more at the same rate.
Can I ask a question? At our campus specifically, speaking of, are we looking at how we would like to help teachers to do this? So, for example, there might be some people leaving. Very helpful. What are we looking at?
So foundations for teachers who are here, like we have some new teachers, and so foundations training has been offered to the teachers who are already here, who might need to brush up their skills. Or the district, I reached out to them. They said that they're providing foundations training for the new teachers that are onboarded in K-3. And then we also have through the foundation, we have 5 spots for teachers to go to this summer. The district also offered a 30-hour Fort Yelling course. And then we met with the foundation and they have some things to offer that talk to the foundation a little bit about, but we do like a 10-hour virtual course that teachers can sign up for that's like really in depth about the background behind language and next. And then they have some other, so the long answer.
That review training helped me tremendously.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Especially up in my reading.
Excuse me, it's really hard to hear you. Whoever's speaking right now.
The last thing he said, that was Coach, and he said the OG really opened his eyes to working with younger readers and learning how to read in the phonics-based instruction, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is this growth or is this what they?
No, it's not growth. This is their achievement.
It's not
So
growth.
this is what they scored on their percentile.
Mhm. So it's the growth.
The map is called the growth.
math growth. Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were
Yeah,
comparing
no,
spring,
confused.
all
It's
the spring. But those,
So, and the growth is what we will dig into as the Go team next year. Looking at the growth by grade level, because that's an area of concern for us as a school, where we need to really work on growing students more and more and applying good strategies and using those strategies to help the students.
The students that are in the yellow development rate for reading, as the years increase, like the percentage kind of stay the same. Is it because the reds are moving into the yellow? Or are those the same students?
It varies, because it could be it really could be yellow going into the green, but then also it could be yellows going into the red, but mostly it's yellows going into.
And then with the last is getting more challenging because it increases from third.
Sorry, can't hear you.
I'm asking about mathematics in fourth and fifth grade, how you have a big jump in the yellow between second and third grade compared to fourth and fifth grade. Is it just because the content is more challenging?
Year to year, it depends. A lot of the content is more challenging, but it just also depends on the students that we have, because we don't want to compare apples to oranges, because you have different students from year to year. And even right now, you're looking at students all in one year. And so we would have to go back and look at the fourth grade data to show what they did from last year to see how that fifth grade compares to it for this year.
And there might be a cohort of children too.
Right.
that came to school. I see,
And then,
okay.
and next year, there's a huge shift in mathematics.
what standard? That two.
It's,
All of them.
Yeah.
it's all new standards.
So long. A little bit.
So they broke it down to about what, 8 standards per grade.
What
And
has
it's,
there been?
hmm,
How many standards has there been?
hmm.
Two, like more or less?
Well, don't,
More, but
the 8 standards
has
have,
substandards.
right. So even though they've broken it down to 8 standards, like the majority of what was there, would you say is still there? It's just, it's grouped better into different categories. But the main focus and the main thing that's going to be hard is the understanding that for teachers, and that's why they did training today with the teachers to get them ready for this shift. It's about conceptual understanding and not the way that we learn. So, the way we learn was very rote. 3 times 4 is 12. 5 plus 5 is 10. They want the students to be able to engage and explore with mathematics. So for example, the lesson will start with the teacher giving a brief number talk or overview to get the kids interested. But then they give them a problem and the teacher doesn't solve it. They step back and watch the kids try to solve it using their different skills and strategies that they come up with. They want them to grapple more with the math and have what the term now that's being used is productive struggle. So through that productive struggle of trying to figure it out and using your different strategies, you have better comprehension and understanding of a problem, so that even when you see things that you're not familiar with, you're able to attack and solve.
And then so how do they measure the outcome? That they solve the problem and not
Oh,
how they solve it?
A lot of times that's all part of it. So the correct answer will be part of it, but a lot of times is, can you explain the strategy that you're using, and are you using the strategy to solve problems?
You saw it.
Yes, you can solve it however you want, as long as you can explain it.
Honestly, that has not changed, right?
Right.
We can move in this direction. This issue, it's great. These type of things, we've been moving in this direction, right?
So the shift that I'm talking about is not so, it's more so the teachers really, that's hard. If you've been teaching for years and you've been used to being the person that gives the instruction and gives and teaches, and now you have to kind of stand back on the side and watch kids really kind of come up with the answers and figure things out, and then you're a guide to help them, that's hard. And that's what you really have to do in order for these children to be successful on these different scores and tests. And that's the shift that the teachers, the coaches are working on with the teachers.
part of it is the productive struggle of, oh, we didn't do this, we didn't get the right answer, so what can we go back and look at this information and like figure it out and reapply it and make it make more sense and then get the right answer and see where we made mistakes, and that's okay.
True problem solving.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been in APS 15 years, and this is the strongest rollout of the standards I've seen for any change. It's the strongest rollout of it. I mean, they've already trained all the coaches, the principals on admin. We had to train teachers this week on not just what do the standards look like next year, but here are the units that APS has created, like with the structures and frameworks and everything. Like everything is there for the teachers. It's just, so tomorrow with 3 through 5, we're meeting with the teachers and we're internalizing the first unit. So like even before they go into summer or the next year, they already are able to start.
And the district has rolled out the first unit along with everything that they need to do that first unit aligned with our new text. And the promise is, I think, July 1st, the remaining units for the rest of the year will be complete. I hope that answers your question.
It was our favorite. The teachers all had a chance to look at it and give their input, and it was actually the favorite.
And I don't have the information at my fingertips, but I also like the parents to know, and maybe whoever's observing, that there is a training that's out there for parents too. I shared it on social media, but there's a training out there for parents to start familiarizing yourself with the new way of math. Because your kids are gonna come home and they may say, the teacher didn't even show us how to do this. They're gonna say that, but that's part of what they're supposed to, because they're supposed to be coming up and struggling with the mathematics and working together.
And probably also to support these kids that probably don't have parents. Hoping, I will go home, oh, my child. is so-
Well, they're gonna get it because at the end of the lesson, the teacher circles back around. So it's not, they figure it out themselves. It's they're given a work session to work and figure it out. They're discussing different means and strategies that they use. The ones that get the correct answer, okay, how did you get it? The ones that didn't, okay, what did you change the next time? And then they do it. I actually saw, and it's happening in pockets already. So one class I went in today, absolutely loved it. I'm gonna tweet it later. The children, they're working on fractions. So the children came up with a problem, recorded it on Flipgrid. The teacher showed it to the class, and then they broke into small groups to figure out how to solve the problem in teams. Then they came back together to discuss it. After they did about 2 rounds of that, then the students in that class made questions for the other class to answer. So they have to solve problems. So it's that creative thinking, it's that inquiry-based learning, which is part of IB that we should have been doing. So when they started talking about it, I'm like, they said it like it was something new, but it's not new. For us as an IB school, it's something that we should have been doing in inquiry. And we see it in pockets, but we need to generalize it to everyone, and that's going to help.
It's a little bit about practice design.
Yes, well, and I was gonna add too, just to release some parent anxiety. In class, like, that's what the teachers, like, here's a couple minutes, here's a problem for individual work. And then they talk about what they did, verify the exception, and then they come home. Before they go, well, before they go home. So it's taking away the teacher standing up there and saying, today, we're gonna learn how to multiply fractions. This is how you do it. You try it. Like, it lets them try to make sense of it.
And so we're looking at the same thing, except this is the quintiles, and this is what it looks like when we're looking at math. And this is K through 5. The first one, the achievement predictor is for 2nd through 5th because it's for milestones. And so this one is looking in general. And so we see that we have to do work in math because we don't want the red or orange. And on this one, yellow, green, and blue is where we want to be. So we're right around midpoint and preferably more green and blue. So we're trying to move towards that. And then, you know, we work with the intervention programs, the in-class instruction, working with the teachers, and the combination of everything is the plan for next year. And also, that's why we talk about reducing the class sizes for next year. And hopefully all of that, along with working in PLCs and continuing to dig into what the students need and helping the teachers to teach this way, that they're showing us what's going to help us for next year. Same thing with reading, but it looks a little bit better. That's why I said our real work is with math. You see our line is almost around half of green and blue. And then when you look at yellow, even a little bit further into the majority of students doing better. So we're going to continue our focus on reading, but we have to really focus in on math, hone in on math. And small things make a difference. And one of the things that I didn't post it here because it wasn't here for this one, but if you see the difference in our fall to winter scores for writing, just after, you know, we honed in on and said, okay, here are some of the pieces Ms. Barry helped with writing lesson plans. They talk about it in PLCs. We had huge jumps in every area in writing just after one test and focusing in on those things. So we are going to continue to work on reading next year with the phonics and comprehension, but we're really going to dig into math for next year. BAS data. Now, this is funny data because you can't really compare year to year. And that was one of the errors I made at first looking at this data, like what can we do to improve BAS data? You can't really look at it like that because it's all based on what's happening at the time. So like last year, we were coming out of COVID and, you know, 69% of the students were normal. You know, and this is student ratings. They rated themselves as normal. We had 279 students take it. 22% were elevated and 9% were extremely elevated. So now if you look at the marked difference between last year and this year, we've now jumped to 83%. So from 69 to 83% of students now saying that, you know, they feel normal, 12% elevated and 6% at the extremely elevated. So there's an improvement there. Not that it necessarily has, you know, we do our things that we're supposed to do. So we have care team, we have the social worker, we have the admin team, we have the teachers that all work with the students. And when we see things that may be emotional or behavioral risk, we refer them to the appropriate people. I'm sorry, and the counselor, social worker, and SEL teacher. And so some of that is that work, but then it's also just the climate of the world now, I think, slightly. As far as, you know, we're not in COVID anymore, and we're not going through all of those things that we've gone through then. And hopefully we will improve again next year. So that was a huge jump. The teachers, teacher school official, there were 813 evaluations. That went down a little bit. So from 91 to 87, from 6 to 9, and from whatever that tiny number is to 4. But it's not that different. And then the parents and the guardians, which is not a good representation of the school. We had 21 last year take it, with 90% saying elevated and 10%, 90% normal and 10% elevated. And then this year we only had 10 parents do surveys, but they said 100% normal. So we took a look at the data from the Springs Map Administration, and what we're supposed to do now is identify 2 to 3 potential needs for the 2023-2024 school year. And this will help us as the leadership comes together to discuss what are some of our continuous improvement goals, which will be part of our Summer Leadership Academy that we have to sit down and say, hey, what are our goals? I know our #1 goal already from just looking at it, but team, what do you think?
I think it's math.
So here's some data. What does this data tell us? What good news is there to celebrate? Where are growth opportunities? What trends do we see in the data?
So can you do the emotional results for a minute? Thank you.
So, I mean, we could easily say one thing to celebrate are the students are not having as many emotional risks as they did in prior years. I think that's an easy celebration. As far as looking at the data overall, there are opportunities for growth in math, especially, and reading. So those were two of our goals for this year, but I think we need to continue focusing on that growth. Anyone else?
Back to the other screen, there was just a little concern to me, teacher, staff, down a bit. Yeah.
We're going back to bats.
Yeah. I guess it's a little striking that the teacher, school official, formal went down, elevated. Went up. It's good.
What is that number?
So that's the number of
Oh, they,
assessments that were
Okay.
done. So we did have like 90 more done this year. So I wonder if that,
That, yeah, 813 minus 725. So we increased in that area as far as having more. And it could
and what
be,
time of year, what did they do this?
this was around February, I think, February, March. But keep in mind, this could be, like I said, it's hard to compare year to year because it's a different group of students. And so we did get a lot of new students this year at higher enrollment. And so it could be some of the behaviors that we're seeing in the higher enrollment with the newer students, or it could just be, you know, this is the point of the time, what teachers are saying.
so like for this year's data,
Mhm.
the student count, it says 381 or 30, I can't read exactly. But does that mean that only that many students took it?
Right, because it's 3 through 5. So for student 3 through 5 are the ones that took that assessment. So the younger kids didn't accept.
I'm just trying to figure out why the teacher school official number is so much higher.
Because that should be pretty much both campuses.
Oh, because the teachers
do it for K through two. Students themselves do. That so one teacher, just the homeroom teacher does it. Not.
Can I ask a question? Am I interrupting someone? I can't hear.
So you're fine.
From the graphic, it looks like the teachers' morale went down. Am I reading this correctly?
The teachers did go, they had a lower score, yes.
And do we know the reasons behind that?
It's basically what the teachers see is what they feel is normal or elevated or extremely elevated.
They're rating students.
They're rating the student, yeah, this is
It's not the
rating the
teachers.
students, not the teachers.
Okay, got it.
Sorry.
Thank-
Yep, it's rating the students.
Got it, thanks.
Everyone here is rating the students, and so where it says student, they're rating themselves. So they're feeling a lot better about themselves. They don't feel emotional risk when they ask the questions, and they're not asking them, are you emotionally risk? But they're asking them questions about how they feel at various points during the day or going through certain events, or has this or that happened to them, and then that is used to determine the score of if it's elevated, extremely elevated, or just normal.
So basically, parents are optimistic, teachers a little bit pessimistic, and the students improve on their self-view of their behavior and emotional risk.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. That's fast. Throw out the first one.
Math.
What math? Student and teacher math support.
Additional opportunities to practice or tutoring. Summer school, I know we lost that funding, correct?
No, there's still summer school.
We still be doing interventions next year. Interventions next year.
Yeah, intervention next year. And that, you know, speaking to that point, that's just one of the places that we need to improve. I mean, just being forthright, there was a lot of pushback about intervention. And so, like I told them, if you don't believe something works, implement it with fidelity, and then if it doesn't work, then say that. But it wasn't always implemented with fidelity. We have people like to put kids on the program to do the interventions in the small group. So we're gonna have to move beyond that. We have some, not a.
So could that be a need, like looking at, I just had the word. Like being more intentional about intervention practices?
We're, I guess, kind of doing this, but I think utilizing specialists. Program like do the math. You don't have to be a math teacher. No pedagogy, if you're a teacher, you do math, right? And I just, I know the classroom teachers have more on their plate than others. Do and understand. If they got intervention, it's a kick. School.
But then we also had the block built for that too. That's the extended half an hour a day that we have. This next year.
But our
we have-
next year's schedule's either.
Right. Oh, that's true.
Opportunity to use the hands, so, you know. And it's not, like this year it was hard because first grade was doing it at a different time. And
Third goal. I think one of our goals was about the care team and implementing it. So I think we did that with fidelity to the point that we saw a change the VAS results. And so I think, you know, we'll have a goal on that just because we have to. But we just, I guess the next one could be a reading goal. What do you think? No, I'll let you go.
I'm thinking,
foundations,
All
yes,
phonics.
yes.
I also just continue.
Yes.
more
I
intentional.
think-
Yeah, more,
I mean,
more intentional phonics instruction using the programs that we have and the Fort Gillingham training that we have or are going to have. There's a lot of people are already OG trained too.
Is the phonics the major stumbling block, or was it the decoding at this?
yes, so
Or that
the
one of the-
phonics is the same.
So
Yeah, understanding phonics helps.
So it kind of, I mean, to me, it kind of lines in with the math too. Because when we talk about that creative problem solving, the phonics gives the children the ability for word attack skills. So even if they come across an unfamiliar word, having those phonics skills helps build that up. And so coupling that with OG and the multi-sensory and the tactile, and you'll hear your kids start to talk about, because as we go through this, we're gonna look for, more of the skywriting. We won't, like little simple things that give that multi-sensory input really helps the children. Skywriting or the bumpy path, writing and dictation and things of that nature. So I put more intentional phonics instruction coupled with OG. Okay. We'll be revisiting this at the beginning of the year.
We will now move on to information items. First is the principal's report.
So my apologies, I left off one major bullet. Allison smiled, I think she knows what it is. We have to recognize our 23-24 Teacher of the Year, Coach Jones. And then over the primary campus, this board is a support person. And so they'll be representing us throughout the year. We had the Lion King's performance, in which we also had the volunteers here. Not a great turnout for that, we'll just keep working on it. We're just gonna plug volunteers. I did plug for the volunteer fair at the beginning of the Lion King because the room was packed front to back. And so I spoke to them about more volunteers. Last Friday, and I'll probably do a brief article about this and send it out, we had the NHS Stellar Seniors. One of those moments that brought a few tears to my eyes, literally, because I had some kids pull me in the corner that I had in 6th and 7th grade because I looped with them as an administrator. Out of the 10 or so kids that were there, I knew every one except one. And the thing that I really want to emphasize was many of them spoke about the importance of an IB education. So whereas teachers and parents are getting caught up here with gifted, when they got to high school, they said the thing that pushed them beyond anything was IB, and their foundation starts here. So I want to keep pushing that message out to the community as we deal with gifted, and of course we'll continue with gifted, but the students just said, the IB, the different pieces of culture that they learn, how to interact with students from different groups, the challenges that they had. They all talked about feeling super prepared for college because they went through the IB program at North Atlanta. So I just wanted to give a shout out to North Atlanta, that's our cluster high school, and the IB program, because when we do it right, it works and it really helps students, and they recognize it in the end. I wrote all kinds of little notes as they spoke, but it was awesome. And I saw some kids that I saw some kids I used to have to talk to on a regular basis, and they're getting scholarships and they're going on to college. And it was one of those moments that'll just make you really proud. But that IB education is paramount.
For those VP students?
Not all. Some were VP. I think there was maybe even one CP in there, but they all talked about just the school as a whole, and then many of them spoke about IB. There's an end of year calendar that we'll be putting out later on because there was so many events. And what happened is because milestones was pushed so late, all the way until the 17th, that end of the year just got so hectic with so many different activities. I was having a hard time wrapping my mind around it. So we'll look out for a calendar that will come out with all the dates and time. And so hopefully that will help everyone stay organized because we have a lot going on, including international travel for the 17th, 18th, 19th. So we have opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, flagpole, Festa Junina, all of that is happening during May. And then all the traditional stuff that we're doing. The second grade walk of the building, the second grade walk to third grade, the 5th grade walk back to the PC. May 7th. Oh, we have time. That's next weekend. May 7th at 4 o'clock, we will have the seniors walking. So seniors that have gone on to different schools, whether it's North Atlanta or private schools or whatever have you, that went to Sarah Smith will be returning at the PC from 4 to 6 to fellowship, get together, see each other, and now have a picture at 5 o'clock. Esports Championship, which was wildly popular. I thought it would be popular, but I didn't know.
Just.
Less coach pride, because that's a lot of children, but our top 5 students will be competing on May 13th at North Atlanta High School. I went through our notes from last time and we had a discussion about the French teacher. We do have a French sub from a French speaking country. She's working with the students. She's been teaching and it's been going fine. And those are the major announcements that I have for this week. We didn't have another cluster advisory. Today is the last day to vote for Go Team, I believe. And I need to talk to the Go Team office because I did find out I will have to replace one. So we did have one person leave the team. That's it. Do we have anything else? So for this year, we're tabling it. We're tabling it.
It's gotta be. Get your code together. It's gotta be,
I think the major pieces for us are the safety piece with the shoes, but we will talk about it. I've spoken to some of my other colleagues at elementary school, and theirs is really not strict. It's very loose. And so we're just trying to figure out what's a good medium and make sure that we start at the beginning of the year.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think for PE. Safety.
Oh, no, I love it because that would be enough to make them wear the right shoes. So, oh my gosh. Like bowling shoes almost, and just lights on them.
Just donate all these old shoes. Just the sizes, but you've got all my versions.
And so it says, check it. So that's where we are with that. We didn't make a firm decision because really the other teammates, they don't have a real strict dress code at all. And it's almost like, is it worth it? We'll see. Go Team Satisfaction Survey, Principal Feedback Survey, that should hit your mailboxes on May 1st. And we have to make sure we complete our required trainings. So all of the trainings that we're supposed to complete as part of Go Team, they're in the box, so just make sure we do them. And I would like to say thank you to this team for the support, Ben and everyone. You guys have been a great support, and I think we've had great meetings. I've heard of other places where the Go Team don't go so well. And I think you all have been very supportive, and you all have been very supportive and helped me a lot through the first year, and I look forward to working with you all again next year.
Does anyone have any other announcements?
No.
Oh, no, that's right. It's fine. Yes.
Are you okay?
You're falling off? Did you run for election again?
But then I think you get,
Okay.
I don't know. There was no problem.
And Ms. Jacoby,
Yes, sir. How can I help?
I'll call you tomorrow about replacing one of my members on how we go about that.
Did somebody resign or? Hello?
Fine, but I'll call you tomorrow and talk to you about that.
Okay, sounds fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. A second. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, please raise your hands. Any abstentions, please raise your hands. And our meeting is